And we are live. What is going on, Facebook? It is your boy, Faithful to God. And I am sitting here waiting for this ISUPK member to come into this room. ISUPK member was in a group called The Law versus the Gospel, where I made a post on Lashawan Kodash. I'm actually going to go ahead and screen share it in a moment. You guys give me a second. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I see somebody just came into the room. State your name.
All right, this is Red October, also known as Isaiah Shaw of the Octagon.
Yo, I thought you were gonna come in with a Lashawan Kodash name. Rob
No.
Octobar.
I don't really believe in that kind of stuff, but you know, this isn't about my opinion. So,
Of course.
where is I want to mispronounce his name? I believe it's Aban.
Afban UPK, yeah. So we're waiting for Afban UPK to come in here. This gentleman who seemed very adamant to want to debate earlier, all of a sudden now seems to be nowhere to be found. Let me go ahead and do something, okay? I'm gonna screen share. I was gonna show your screenshots. I need you to keep those on deck just in case anything happens to my thread. And I'm gonna certainly make a video on this in the future. But I wanted us to just go ahead and do this while we wait for him to come in, because I want this to be on record. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Please do not message me, y'all, while I'm in here. Actually, let me make sure. I don't got hold on, let me make sure do something real quick. Just give me a moment. Give me a moment. We're just waiting for yeah. All right, give me a second. Okay, all right, here we go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen. All right, I don't know how I can there we go. I'm gonna share my screen and we're gonna take a look at the relevant thread. So this is in the Law versus the Gospel group. I don't know who the admin of this group is, but this was my post. I said, to the ISUPK members in this group or anyone else who believes in Lashawan Kodash, quote unquote, that believes Lashawan Kodash, quote unquote, is ancient Hebrew, I'd like for y'all to address the following points. All do not have to be addressed, but I'd at least like an answer for one directly. All right, so this was my first question. Can any of you provide an ancient transliteration that proves that the letter Sade was pronounced Taza? Number two, can any of you explain why Jacob was transliterated as Jacob in the Septuagint and New Testament and not Yaquab or Yacob or Yaquab? This is significant because the Septuagint was the Greek translation of the Hebrew scriptures made by the Israelites centuries before the time of the apostles. I have more examples. Why was Yisrael rendered Israel in the Septuagint and New Testament and not Yasser Allah, i.e. Yasher Allah? And this is because the Greek didn't have the sh sound, so sigma was employed. Number four, can you explain why Jesus said Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani in Matthew 27:46 and not Ahlaya, Ahlaya, lama sabachthani, which is how it would have been. This is, and by the way, just so you guys can see, these are the transliterations into the Greek. This shows that if they were speaking that so-called dialect, it would have been very easy for them to render this into the Greek, the pronunciation in Hebrew into the Greek text. Yet, what's the pronunciation that actually appears? It's this one. And this, notice that there's an E sound at the beginning of Eli. It's not Ahlaya or Ahlaya, or however they would say it. Number five, Yahushai was not how Christ's name was pronounced in Hebrew. This can be proven by virtue that there are no ancient transliterations that even hint at that pronunciation. His actual Hebraic and Aramaic name is pronounced Yeshua. This can be proven by looking in the Peshitta, an ancient Aramaic Bible, and seeing the name Yeshua in every instance where Jesus appears in the Greek or Jesus appears in our English Bibles. Notice the E in Jesus. And this is significant because the Peshitta actually predates the King James Bible by like over 1,000 years. Yet somehow, some way, you don't see, you'll see right here at the bottom where I was stating both Yeshua and the long form Yehoshua were rendered as Jesus in the Septuagint in New Testament. Yeshua, Yehoshua, Jesus. Why weren't these two names rendered as Yasas, seeing as Lashawan Kodash proponents claim any vowels other than A and I were somehow foreign to the Israelites? I got two more questions. Or take the Hebrew word for peace, shalom, which Lashawan Kodash proponents claim is either shalom, which omits the wa, or shalom. Contrast that with the name of David's son, Abishalom, which contains shalom, yet his name was rendered Abisalom in the Septuagint. Notice the phrase salom. The Greek alphabet didn't have the Hebrew letter shin or the sh sound, so sigma or s was employed. This proves that shalom is the correct pronunciation for peace in Hebrew, and it incorporates an o vowel, which Lashawan Kodash proponents claim is false. Even the 1611 KJV provides evidence against Lashawan Kodash. For instance, in Genesis 3:24, cherubim is rendered cherubim in English. Why wasn't cherubim rendered karawabama or karawabams? I look forward to your responses. And this is when this person came in, Afban UPK. What a clown! Then he writes, "We can do this live." So these were my responses to him. I said, "Then let's do this live, my unlearned friend. I look forward to teaching you a lesson in humility." And then I asked my brother Isaiah to screenshot. He says, "Do I have a YouTube channel?" I said, "I sure do. And there's my YouTube channel." I said, "I'm going to have fun making you an example. Now jump in. You're quote unquote no coward, right?" Notice I keep asking him to come in. Then he says, "We can set this up. The topic can be Lashawan Kodash Fact or Fiction," which is actually the name of this live stream that we're doing right now. And my response was, "The room is already made. Now come in. You will be treated fairly by me. We will both be timed." Now, before I do anything else, let me go ahead and make sure that he is in here. Okay, he's not in here yet. So as of yet, he has still to come into this room.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not optimistic that he will. This tends to be the nature with especially ISUPK members, but really with a lot of camps when they think they're gonna get one over easy on people. But he might surprise. He might be just running late. If
Oh no,
he is,
he's
I
definitely
can
not going to get one over easy on me at all.
Oh, definitely not. But remember that makes him look bad in his camp size, so he has to weigh out the risk and reward in doing something like that.
Right. I can imagine. I can imagine the fact that these guys like to talk a big talk but can't actually back it up. So as you see right here, he says, "LOL, I don't get told what to do. I'll let you know." I said, "Sir, I'm waiting on you so we can go live." And I said, "Actually, you do get told what to do by Johanna and the people ranked higher than you in your camp. But I'm here ready to get it popping. What's good? You sounded like you wanted that smoke a minute ago." And as you can see,
I
my
think you
brother,
reminded him that he did need Johanna's permission, and he's going to get that now.
oh, he's going to get that. It's funny, right? He was ready to go live. And I've seen them go live with people instantaneously before. But now he's got to get permission because it's me. That's hilarity. That is hilarity. Utter hilarity.
That kind of thing is not surprising. Remember, he has to look out for his image, and also keep in mind that doing an actual one-on-one discussion with somebody is not street preaching when you have all the megaphones and all your friends chanting you on. It's much different when it's a one-on-one kind of thing, and you have to actually know things.
Right.
But this is why Christians are at the top of biblical apologetics, and Hebrew Israelites are still just trying to find some groundwork.
Yeah, and the ISUPK, continually claims that they're no cowards, but then, I mean, they do things that seem very cowardly to me. So,
well, again, he might surprise. He might just, show up, I guess, fashionably late, and he might actually be willing. But for the time being, it doesn't look that is the case.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and, since he doesn't seem to want to come in here, apparently he has to get permission. He just finished saying, that was the hilarious part. He says in his comment, let's scroll up again, "I don't get told what to do. I don't get told what to do." No, you do get told what to do. That's why you have to go ask for permission. I came up in here because I'm ready to get it in. I'm ready to have this discussion with you. You don't seem to be willing and ready to have this discussion with me. That's why you're actually looking for excuses not to come in here. I think that's pretty evident. But we'll see what happens, man. You know, if he decides to comment later on, we will first of all leave this up as evidence that we did tell him to come in, lest he try to make the assertion that no one actually asked him to come in. And so we'll go ahead and leave this as evidence. Isaiah,
I
do you
mean,
have anything to say?
what exactly did he think was the
I
best
got I
case
got to step away,
scenario?
but real quick, just
It's all good. Look, it just what do you think he would achieve in this, in making a challenge that he wasn't going to follow up on? What was the best case scenario that you would have said no, and then he could just be like, "Oh, you see, you're scared. Everyone's afraid of the home of the truth. See, ISUPK 1,000, the world 0." Or said yes, and then he just didn't do it. Now, maybe he wanted you to go on the UPK platform, and he was hoping that you didn't have a.
so he wanted me to come on his platform so he could turn my mic down, or he could mute me, or he wants me to go on Facebook Live so he could overtalk me and not have any sort of decorum, but then claim that he's doing everything in decorum. I honestly hope that
exactly that. You got a problem with that?
Has it been? Well, I certainly have a problem when the other side is claiming to be no cowards and then does cowardly things like that. But I kind of find it interesting that he was unwilling to come into a room where objectivity was going to be valued to the uttermost, where he was going to be given an ample amount of time to speak. I was going to let him speak. I was, in fact, planning on having this be timed. My brother Isaiah Shaw here was going to be our moderator. He was going to ensure that order was kept, that I wasn't going to overspeak, the other guy wasn't going to overspeak. And for whatever reason, he decided he didn't want to come in here. So I find it very telling that these guys claim to be no cowards, but then do the very cowardly things that one would expect from a group that likes to bolster and brag about. You know, I guess you could call it overcompensation because the arguments really aren't there. But I'm not here to brag. I'm here to just show and prove. You know, I'm ready to show and prove. So if any ISUPK member wants to come in, matter of fact, let me do something real quick. If any of you ISUPK members or anyone who holds Talasha Qudash wants to come into this room, I'm going to give the link. You're more than welcome to come in here. I have no problem with you coming in here right now. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the link. If I could find the,
you know, please try to pull up shortly, guys, because I do have to go on a few. But you know, if y'all actually do make it in and can actually get a debate popping, I could stick around a little longer.
Yeah, I'm sincerely convinced that, you know, Hebrew Israelites of this variety have no business.
Maybe he's assembling his preset packet. That could always be. No, seriously. Like maybe he needs, because remember they have to stick to a strict script to what ICPK teaches them. He wants to make sure what he says is in line with them.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gotta get the whole script together, lest he argues something that UPK is like, whoa, you can't teach that. Like,
right.
Imagine he slips up like, oh, the Gentiles are actual Gentiles. We're not denying them. Then he's like, no, they aren't. The Gentiles are something.
I would love for one of them to slip up and try to say something stupid. So,
yeah, but what can you expect from a camp that teaches all kinds of wrong things, like white man's
so
the
devil?
link
is actually in the anyone who's watching this, I'm going to put it on my Facebook page too. Anyone wants to jump in? Mm-hmm. The link is actually going to be in the live stream, so you could actually click on the live stream.
Clicking that, and look, it's they're camps. I maybe moderates might be a little more adamant about because they can be more flexible with their beliefs, but to expect a camper to really do this, that they must have no idea what they're walking into and must have some foolish confidence, or maybe they get something.
I'm actually at the point now where I'm thinking about just going under an anonymous name, and then when they see me in the room, I'm going to be under that anonymous name, and all they're going to have to deal with are the arguments. If they don't recognize my voice, because I'm not going to turn my camera on so they can recognize my face from my YouTube channel, I'm going to just turn my camera off. They're just going to hear my voice. If they can't recognize my voice, I know I have a recognizable voice, but still.
But even taking that really says a lot about the camps and how they feel.
The fact that I even had to go, I have to practice anonymity just so I can get one of the guys from the camps to debate. That's the crazy part here.
Yeah, ISUPK, they really pride themselves the most on being the home of the truth and infallible, and in fact, they go as far as to say they're the only right group. So you would think they would be the first ones jumping at an opportunity
I
like
was so
this.
close to saying something about home of the. It had there was a fast food reference that came to mind, and I really wanted to use it based on
Home of the
a certain
Whopper.
observation that I've made about. Um, well, I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, home of the Whopper, not a sponsor. But anyways, I guess what's his name? Aban. I think that's his name. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name. I think he just doesn't want to do it. Maybe he got sidetracked with something else. That's always a possibility. I don't
Yeah.
eliminate that, but it's kind
But
of a
watch the
bit of a
comments
pattern.
come in after we go off air. Oh, I'll debate you. And then as soon as we go to set something up, they're like nowhere to be found. That's kind of how this dude showed up. I made a thread. All he had to do is respond to the thread in text. Like, how hard is that? Typing words is very difficult, apparently, to these people.
I mean, he must have had time if he agreed to do a live stream. Like, those do take at least a half an hour on the
I
short
mean,
end.
look, bro, he had enough time to respond back. He didn't have enough time to respond in text to my actual text post, my original post. And he wanted to do it live. He was like real quick to be like, let's do this live. And he probably thought I wasn't gonna do it live. I'm like, nah, let's get it in, son. Let's do it right now. I'm ready to go right
He
now.
specifically said he's not answering this in Facebook comments. So if he does, then he's kind of gone back on that.
Yeah, and to be honest, if he didn't want to respond in Facebook comments, we can get it in live. Pause,
I
man. We
mean,
could do it live, man. It just is what it
fine.
is.
All right, but still, this isn't surprising. This kind of thing happens pretty often. Is this shared into the group? This stream? Let me
I
just
don't
make
know why
sure.
these guys act this way though. So they tell you that they're no cowards. They're like, yo, they like, what's popping? What's popping, son? And then you be like, yeah, what's popping? Yo, you want that smoke? All right, here go the link. Boom. What's goody? Let's do this now.
That's exactly how it was said.
Look, he just replied. Look, the dude just replied right now, man.
Oh, what did he
Right
say?
now.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
he
probably
puts
about to
Tazariak. He puts Tazariak in there. I'm gonna just, bruh, look at this. Look at this
Cesaria.
tomfoolery.
Oh, that wait. So his response is to tag Tazariak, another person who backed out of a debate with you.
Yet another person who was supposed to debate me who refused to go first in our debate.
He did kind of steal my style with the whole putting the Thanos meme. I did it first, Tazariak. Sorry, just joking.
So he's more than welcome.
Okay, I think
So
it
I
would be
just said right
interesting
now.
if
So I said,
Tazariak would
LOL.
do
If
it.
he'd like to debate this topic, he is more than welcome to come into the stream.
I mean, you should show it on the screen so people know that he's actually saying this. This isn't a joke. He really tagged Tazariak instead. You never know. I mean, imagine you end up talking to Tazariak. I think he has a little bit more influence in the UPK.
All right, so here we go. I'm gonna screen share what's going on in this group. This is tomfoolery right now, man. Tomfoolery at its finest. Let me actually exit out of here. Give me a moment. I got like two. I gotta make sure I got the right window open because I got two windows. All right, here we go. This is the right window. Yeah, this is tomfoolery, son. I really have no idea why cats like this be, coming out their face like this.
I don't.
All right, here we go. You see this right here? This is his comment. So he tags Tazariak. I'll read it for y'all. He tags Tazariak, and I go, LOL, if he'd like to debate this topic, he is more than welcome to come into the stream. But I called you out, sir. So what's good? We're live right now. And yes, we are live. We are most certainly live. Here goes the brother Isaiah. You can see us right here. Look, we're live right now, live and in color. Look, there you go. Real time. Well, actually not real time. There's a lag. So I want to see if these dudes are willing to get it in. I mean, what's good? I'm here right now. Matter of fact, how do I? Oh, I know how to do it. I want this to be on record, so I'm gonna go ahead and copy the video URL. I'm gonna go right back there. I want the audience to see me do this in real time.
I just
And
want to say it would be really cool if they got Tazariak on here. That would be a real interesting conversation to moderate because
yeah,
he really is
I
your
don't think he'd
champion
do very well.
apologist.
For people who don't know, initially we were supposed to debate. I asked him if he was willing to do a debate on Lashawan Kodash after our original debate, and he says no, that's not really his area. That's more Kadazai's area. Whatever. I mean, I
Uh,
thought all of y'all knew Hebrew though, but I guess
it's the home of the truth, regardless. So
yeah. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. I want the audience to see that I'm sharing the link in here, so no one says, "Oh, this is all fake." He never called us. He never gave us the link. And nah, I gave you guys the link, and so here we go. All right, so this is the discussion group, the relevant discussion group. Y'all can see it right there. And this is the join link. I'm going to write it right now. Why don't you guys see my screen? This is the join link. Come in. You guys are seeing this live and in person. So these guys can never say, and he literally wrote his message 3 minutes ago. So these guys can never say, oh, these Christians don't want to
can you
debate.
check the like waiting room to see if
Yeah, I'm
anyone
going
can
to check
jump?
right now, matter of fact.
Like maybe they're waiting.
Nope, nobody in here. Matter of fact, I will.
That's rough.
So no one says there's any funny business. I'm gonna go ahead and share the inside of this room. Okay. This is the inside of the room. No one is in here. All these on the right hand side are on my Facebook wall. Nobody in here. So
Yeah. Well,
other
it's
than me
really
and the brother right here. This is the brother Isaiah. This is my screen sharing, and this is me. No one else is in here. Matter of fact, look, if he were in here, I'm gonna do this for a second, Isaiah. This is how it would look like. You would see a screen like this, kind of like monochromatic, and then kind of like faded, and then he'd be brought in like that. Boom.
you will never debate again. This I'm going through some of these comments. So what do you call
Yeah.
it? Jose Vega says, Mike, I don't think Facebook lets you do live debates anymore. Well,
But he means on Facebook Live.
yeah, that's Facebook Live, but we're on the
Now
StreamYard. So
look at this. Look
which
at
is
this comment. He says, what is your background, your nationality, what group were you part of, and what is it saying?
he just said that.
I'm gonna say your
Oh, okay. He's clearly not gonna jump in because it's either gonna be you're a Gentile heathen and he doesn't need to debate you, or you're an Israelite brother and you'll wake up eventually, or you'll be destroyed. So either way, I think it's kind of backing out. But again, I'm not gonna jump to conclusions. He might actually jump in. So yeah, uh, Floyd Harrison says, Mike Pereira, may I
okay.
ask
So
you
watch
that?
this.
Oh,
So I'm responding. So I said I'm Puerto Rican on my father's side. I'm a Christian, and my aim is to debunk the falsehood of the camps, including the ISUPK. Now come in. So I want everyone to see that that was my response. Lest anybody say, "Oh, well, he didn't really, he's not responding to our question." You notice I'm responding to all this guy's questions right here. He's, "What's your background, nationality, etc.? What group are you part of, and what's his aims?" I'm Puerto Rican on my father's side. I'm a Christian, and my aim is to debunk the falsehood of the camps, including the ISUPK. Now come in.
So while we wait for that, just a little bit more in the question. I mean, in the comments, Mike Pereira, may I ask that you make a distinction between this camp and others? A lot of Hebrew Israelites don't accept that ancient Hebrew, quote unquote ancient Hebrew, or the 12 tribes chart, or Israel is saved only doctrines. Just a humble request. Do your thing. Anything you'd like to say to that?
Yeah, I responded to their comment already.
I see.
Yeah, you see
Sorry.
my response yet?
Yeah. So, then Tony Barden said, is this the same UPK dude that's taking over, spamming the forums? I think so. So Jose Vega says if he doesn't get permission from the camps, they won't chill. And then Tony Barton said screen share, he will never do a debate again. So yeah, now we're here. I really doubt he's gonna show up. The more minutes pass by, the more.
By the way, I said
skeptical.
we're recording live at the moment and showing your responses to others. I suggest you come in because this is not a good look for you. And it's not a good look. And I'm not ashamed to say this or to show this because these guys talk a big game. They want to act as if they're better than someone. They want to try to bully up on people, but they don't seem to realize that I'm not the kind of person that either gets bullied up on or simply just sits back and allows for tomfoolery to go down. My objective is for them to see the falsehood in the ISUPK and in One Westism, so they would, Lord willing, come out of it and embrace the real truth found in Christ Jesus, and they would see why what the camps promote are, pretty much everything. Whether people think that this is an essential issue or a non-essential issue, this is one of many problems with the camps. Like, it's one of the reasons why I personally believe that the One West Hebrew Israelite spectrum is devoid of just common sense and I would say even biblical knowledge, because and even just the knowledge of the language, knowledge of the history of the Israelites, knowledge of salvation, the most important thing, the gospel message, above everything else. These guys have a distorted understanding of the gospel, a distorted understanding of Christ Jesus, not just in what he came to do, but in his person. I mean, we could go down the list. It is just an embarrassment. It is an utter travesty to see just how much these people are getting wrong. And it's because they're under a strong delusion. So my purpose is to do these discussions to show people why it's false, why I am vehemently against this doctrine, why I believe it is utter poison. And I want people to see even in the minute details, like the dialect. The ISUPK has been on record saying if someone can show them even one thing wrong with their doctrines, they would go out on a limb to. There was an ISUPK member who said, and I actually played a video very quickly, and then we'll probably start winding things down because it seems like he's not going to come in. We're going to give him about 5 more minutes.
Play the clip because
I got the clip.
This guy's giving up, and I honestly, to be honest, right now I have to go, but I do appreciate you bringing me on here. I would have been honored to have moderated this discussion because I know people need these kind of.
Stick around at least for the clip.
I really can't, but I'll still be paying attention on my phone though. So, but I want to thank you very much for having me on your platform, Mike. I do hope that this will inspire other Hebrew Israelites to get up and stand up to the challenge. There's nothing wrong with having your beliefs challenged.
Yeah, this is extended to anybody who thinks Lashawan Kodash is a valid dialect. I would like for you to come in here. We can have a discussion. I'm going to be here for another 5 minutes. I'm just waiting for this person to come in here. And if they decide not to come in, then I'm just going to end this live stream. And this will be on record as a witness against them in that they do not want to defend that belief. And if they have to go through some sort of protocol just to do it, it's funny. Yeah. I say it again. They have been on record going live before with very little seeming protocol when it's certain people. But when it's other people who I guess they can't get one over on, now all of a sudden it's all these issues. Oh, I have to get back to you. They start asking questions, whatever it is.
Yeah. So just one last thing for any people part of any One West camps listening or anyone with kind of militant type of beliefs, don't be scared to do a debate live. Don't be afraid of losing live. If you lose a debate live, that should encourage you to change your beliefs. If you see that the facts aren't working, it's one thing to be, maybe you just didn't know something at the time, but if you find that the facts are actually against you, you need to change your beliefs in light of the facts, not the other way around. So I do hope that will encourage you to step up, put your truth to the test, see if it can really hold water, and just get sharper in your apologetics. It is important. We are called to do that according to the Bible. So don't be afraid to have your faith tested. So with that said, God bless you all, and shalom, and shout out to the Octagon, of course. God bless everybody.
Yeah, peace to the Octagon. All right, thank you, brother. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to go ahead and show this. This is an example of the ISUPK claiming that if anyone can disprove them, they will let go of, the whole belief system. So here we go.
One thing wrong, all of it's wrong. That's what I believe. If one thing is wrong, all of it is wrong. Right. So if you prove to your audience that we're wrong, prove one thing wrong.
And this is what one of the gentlemen said. So I want.
One thing is wrong.
Here we go.
If you prove us wrong, right? That means if you prove one thing wrong, all of it's wrong. That's what I believe. If one thing is wrong, all of it is wrong. Right. So if you prove to your audience that we're wrong, then people should listen to us. Because if I was on that side and you proved that they were wrong, I would listen.
So you heard the gentleman from the ISUPK. He says if you can prove one thing wrong, then basically all of it is wrong. Talking about the ISUPK belief. Whatever they espouse, 12 tribes chart, whatever. All of it is wrong if you can just prove them wrong on one thing. That's seemingly how confident he is in the ISUPK's doctrines. Well, I'm here to disprove them on Lashawan Kodash, which in theory, according to this man's logic, means if I can prove them wrong on that, then everything else is wrong. I don't know what sort of line of reasoning he's working off of, but I'm willing to disprove the fraudulent dialect that they claim is ancient Hebrew, to show that it's not ancient Hebrew, that it is in fact a modern concoction from men who were ignorant of the Hebrew language as a whole and its history and its semantic range in terms of dialect, in terms of pronunciation. These men are just utterly ignorant of the fact that we actually have ancient Israelite writings that preserve transliterations into the Greek that preserved the pronunciations that the Israelites were using. For example, Jesus Christ, his cry on the cross is preserved in the Greek. It doesn't sound like Lashawan Kodash. Just that one example alone debunks Lashawan Kodash. It shows that dialect, the ah, ba, ga, that's the only sound that every single character, like every character in the Hebrew alphabet, according to proponents of Lashawan Kodash, makes the ah sound other than the ayin, which makes the I according to them. Except for the fact that we have evidence to debunk such a notion. And I'm going to go ahead and show a video very quickly just to disprove this. This is from my brother. We both share the exact same position on this. So I'm going to go ahead and play this just as a brief example to completely destroy this idea that ancient Hebrew had only one pronunciation per character. I'm going to go ahead and disprove that right now, right this second. Just a small section in the video, which I'm about to play. All right, here we go. All right. And I'm going to screen share again, and then I'm probably going to end things if he doesn't come in. All right, so this is my screen. I'm going to play the audio right now.
That the word was vocalized that way in the time of Christ.
Okay, listen, let me, so you got the Masoretes, right? They were a group of Jewish...
Bro, this is before the Masoretes.
No, it's not. No, it's not, because those vowels were not there.
With all due respect to Al-Azhar, while he's saying, no, it's not, honestly, the response is, I'm sorry, but yes, it is. We're referring to a transliteration in the New Testament, in the Gospel of Matthew, that is before the Masoretes. Matthew was written before the time of the Masoretes.
Oh, who worked between the 6th and the 10th century?
I know this argument.
Primarily,
Rakah found to use this. We know.
Jerusalem, as well as Iraq. Each group compiled a level codex to do with kings.
You know how you're wrong?
Each group compiled a system of pronunciation and grammatical guides in the form of diacritical notes.
Brother, read the Septuagint. When it translates into Hebrew, it lets you know how it's spoken.
No, the Septuagint does not let you know that.
Actually, the Septuagint does provide a number of transliterations which are relevant to questions about Hebrew pronunciation, and we'll get to that in a moment.
It still isn't Paleo, ancient, pre-exilic Hebrew. That's the point, vocab.
I'm sensing another shift in focus here. Note that vocab, when he started this out, he started out as a question about whether or not Jesus spoke Lashawan Kodash, while now Al-Azhar is talking about pre-exilic Hebrew. This raises an interesting question. Does Al-Azhar believe that the Hebrew spoken by Jesus, by Christ, was fundamentally different from the Hebrew spoken in pre-exilic times? That's an interesting question. But if his answer is no, that Jesus was speaking essentially the same language that, or roughly similar language to what was spoken in pre-exilic times, then we would be able to get a sense within the paradigm of that assumption. We would get a sense of what pre-exilic Hebrew was like, because we have a sense of what Hebrew was like in the time of Christ. And that's the issue here. But let's consider the other alternative. Let's suppose Al-Azhar says, well, actually, Hebrew in the time of Christ was fundamentally different from pre-exilic Hebrew. Okay, working within that paradigm, it seems to be that his assumption is that in pre-exilic times they were speaking Lashawan Kodash, even though there's no evidence for that, but in the time of Christ they weren't. That would beg the question, if people weren't speaking Lashawan Kodash in the time of Christ, why do you refer to him by a Lashawan Kodash name? Wouldn't it be the case that in his time, nobody was calling him quote-unquote Yahushai? Wouldn't that be the case if people weren't speaking Lashawan Kodash then?
Yeah, well, I'm supposed to just trust the Greek Septuagint, the source that
Something that
people
cried about
had days of mourning because of how poorly it was translated when you go into the history.
Septuagint studies is a deep and complex subject. If Al-Azhar or the other member of his group would like to discuss certain verses which they feel were translated incorrectly, we can discuss that. But I think, with all due respect to these gentlemen, they're being a bit too flippant. Nonetheless, even if you have disagreements with the way certain texts were translated, that doesn't lead to the conclusion that these men, the translators of the Septuagint, didn't know how Hebrew characters were pronounced. Their transliterations show an ancient understanding of how various Hebrew words were pronounced. And so I want to take a look at the Septuagint to show the significance of this fact. So let me show my Septuagint. We'll take my Septuagint off the shelf and we'll take a look in here. We're going to take a look at some of the transliterations that appear in this text. So first, let's go to First Chronicles chapter 6. You have the name Asir, which is spelled with an aleph. It starts with aleph, and so here it is, right here, Asir. It's spelled with an aleph, yet it's transliterated with an alpha. Yet in the same verse, or the verse before, you have Elkanah, also spelled with an aleph, yet it's transliterated with an epsilon. Now let's go to 2 Samuel, where you have the name Ishtob, also spelled with an aleph, yet transliterated with an iota. Aside from that, let's jump to Genesis 36, where you have the name Omar, right? Omar, spelled with an aleph, transliterated with an omega. And let's jump back to First Chronicles chapter 6 again, and you have the name Uriel, spelled with an aleph, but transliterated with an omicron upsilon. Think about the implications of what was just shown. We have 5 different biblical terms, all starting with aleph, yet that initial character is transliterated 5 different ways. And this touches on a central point here. One major premise of Lashwan Kodash is that each Hebrew character has essentially only one possible vocalization. Meanwhile, the standard understanding of Hebrew, along with other Semitic languages like Arabic and Aramaic, posits that each Hebrew character has multiple possible vocalizations. The ancient transliterations that we just looked at provide clear examples of such. We see that in the ancient understanding, the aleph was not simply pronounced ah, rather it could be vocalized alternatively as ah, e, o, u, and we can show a similar spectrum for the other characters. Now, Al-Azhar wishes to voice his disapproval of the Septuagint, but we see a similar spectrum of vocalizations also appearing in the New Testament, in the writings of Josephus and in the writings of Philo. Thus, we have a collection of ancient evidence in favor of the conclusion that in the time of Christ, the Hebrew language had a spectrum of vocalizations which proponents of Lashawan Kodash claim were not part of Hebrew. Now, to be clear, this is not an argument in favor of modern Israeli Hebrew. However, it is an argument against Lashawan Kodash. I would put it this way. We have evidence, ancient evidence, in favor of a standard understanding of ancient Hebrew. Meanwhile, Lashawan Kodash has no evidence in its favor.
And it's not just the writings of Philo or Josephus. You also have Simon Bar Kokhba, who was a huge opponent of the Roman Empire and was also somebody who was a failed Messiah claimant, someone who the people embraced, clearly the same people who would have rejected Christ as Messiah. They embraced him as Messiah, and then he was eventually destroyed and disposed by the Romans, and his rebellion came to naught. And this is when the people were eventually kicked off of the land for the last time in 135 AD, because a lot of proponents of Hebrew Israelism, more specifically one Westers, seem to ignore the fact that 70 AD was the siege of Jerusalem, yet you still had Jews throughout Judea. But, that's beside the point. Simon Bar Kokhba wrote his epistles, his letters to his generals and the different men that were under him in the Aramaic language, but also in Hebrew. He used the Paleo script, mind you, but then he also wrote in Greek. And in the Greek, he transliterates words that he would have used both in Aramaic and Hebrew. And the pronunciations that he uses mirrors the very Hebrew that proponents of Lashawan Kodash and ignorant claim is Yiddish. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. Proponents of Lashawan Kodash claim that pronunciations like Elohim or Yisrael, that they think that's Yiddish, not realizing that that's actual biblical Hebrew. Yiddish is terms like hot, got, am Peking Gert, schmuck. That's Yiddish. They think, though, that Yiddish somehow is when you say Elohim or Yisrael, or when you say, let me think of something else. Like when you say Jacob, they think Jacob is Yiddish, or they think that saying, they think Shibboleth. It's funny? In the book of Judges, the term Shibboleth is actually transliterated into the English by the King James translators, who they think are Israelites. But somehow these quote unquote Israelites were transliterating it in what they claim is so-called Yiddish, which is actually just the biblical Hebrew text. When you look at the biblical Hebrew text of the book of Judges, I'll tell you guys exactly where. Give me a moment. When you look at the book of Judges, where the term Shibboleth appears, I believe it is in Judges 12 and 6. They think the term that appears in Judges 12 and 6, that way that is pronounced Shibboleth, is Yiddish, not realizing Shibboleth is how you actually pronounce it in actual Hebrew. And more specifically, it's how the King James translators, who they claim are Israelites, transliterated it into the English from the Hebrew. Let me show something real quick, because I get sick and tired of the whole Yiddish thing, and it shows a grand ignorance on the part of proponents of Lashawan Kodash. After this, I am definitely going to probably just not, because this guy's not responding. There's nothing going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show Yiddish, and I'm going to show actual Hebrew side by side in the same exact script. All right, give me a moment. I'm going to pull up. Actually, you know what? I can just do it in the video. I don't got to go looking for it in my computer. Pull it up in this video that I have. So I already have the little chart. And this is in a video that I did debunking Kadazah. This is a video that I did debunking Kadazah that he never responded to. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the relevant portion. Give me a moment, y'all. All right, here we go. Hold on. I guess I could do it that way. All right, so the video is paused, and this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show my screen. You can see my screen. This is the relevant text in Genesis 11, and I believe this is verse 5. And so you can see right here on the left-hand side, you have biblical Hebrew. And on the right-hand side, you have Yiddish. Now, you're going to see the transliteration at the bottom. I'm going to skip ahead in this video. If you can actually see, let me actually raise this up a little bit. So hopefully you guys can see it. Bring this down. Do you see? This is the transliteration right there. Do you see where it says transliteration, y'all? This is the transliteration of this line in Yiddish. Notice the little highlighted part. It says got. Now look how this is pronounced. This is Yiddish. Hat got ambren king apo aprop arop. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Arop gendert zu zen do stadt und den Turm vos die Menskinder. I mean, that's Yiddish. Now, let me show you what they, in ignorance, think is Yiddish, but is actual biblical Hebrew. It would be these phrases. Vayered Yahweh lirot et ha'ir et, asher. That's actual biblical Hebrew, and they actually think that's Yiddish. How come you don't say Yahweh? Why don't you see all these terms? Like, come on, man. It is amazing, man. None of these, like, for example, why isn't this Ashar instead of Asher? Amazing, amazing. Anyway, Simon Bar Kokhba wrote his letters in 3 different languages, and the pronunciations he uses in the Greek that are, preserved from the Hebrew and the Aramaic sound nothing like Lashon Kodash. Of course, they would say Lashon Kodash isn't Aramaic, but the Hebrew that he uses has pronunciations that proponents of Lashon Kodash claim are somehow Yiddish, even though these transliterations are being preserved in Simon Bar Kokhba's own letters, like almost 1,000 years before the time of the Masoretes, before the time that these people claim the Yiddish language, because they think the Yiddish language came in through the Masoretes or something, which is utterly foolish to even assume something like that. Yeah. So anyways, let's see what ends up happening, and matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and show what Tazariak just wrote right now. Let me do that real quick. And this is the last thing. So Tazariak wrote this. This is Tazariak right now in the group. And he says that this guy's an excellent officer. So look what he says. He says, I would think that Mike Pereda or Faithful would know better than to assume ISUPK just hops on people's lives. Well, Tazariak, you've actually hopped on G-Man's lives. So yes, you guys do jump on people's lives. The reality is, in fact, I'm going to do something real quick because I want you to hear this. I'm going to go ahead and post this for Mr. Tazariak so he can actually hear what I have to say. All right, here we go. And now I'm going to screen share. Well, actually, you know what? Let me see if I can screen share real quick. I'm going to go ahead and screen share. Oh, my bad. I posted the watch link. My bad. Should have posted the video link. Hold on a second. Let me actually just edit that real quick. Actually, let me do this real quick. All right, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new window. I'm going to grab the video, and then I'm going to go ahead and just call this a wrap. All right, before I do this, copying the video URL, posting it here. This is my response. All right, there we go. There goes the video, because I don't want anyone to say that, I haven't actually tried to interact with these gentlemen. Cancel this. Let me go up here. And so this is my response to Tazariak. All right, so Tazariak, if you're listening, I want everyone to know that I've actually responded to you. This is my response. All right, so your comment reads, I would think that Mike Pereira or Faithful would know better than to assume ISUPK just jumps on people's lives. Actually, you have jumped on people's lives. For example, when you went into G-Man's live streams before, when he would have his Google Hangouts. In fact, you called into one of his shows and you didn't seem to ask permission from anybody to go into that live stream. So why is it that when this gentleman, and I want Tazariak to see what the gentleman actually said to me, when he said we can go live, yeah, we can do this live, implying that, yo, we can get it in right now. So what's good? Let's get it in right now. I tell him to get it in. You guys can see how many times I dropped the link in here, and he did not want to come in. Tazariak's response is basically to save face. He says, not necessarily at all. The video or link don't even open up. Well, Tazariak, you're watching this live, so clearly you're going to see right now that the link actually does open up, because I sent the same link to Isaiah. In fact, here is well, you're actually watching the video stream, but if you'd like to come in, you're more than welcome to come in. So here's the link for you to come in. You and I can have a discussion right now live on air, and we can actually go over the dialect known as Lashawan Kodash. There should be no problem for you to come in. Just as you've gone on G-Man's platform and had discussions with G-Man, and you didn't ask permission to anybody, and I've seen other members of your group do the same thing. In fact, I can show you a video where you have a member of your camp who went into a live discussion with an atheist, and it's still on YouTube. And he didn't ask permission to anybody, and yet he was in a live discussion with an atheist, and unfortunately was made to look silly from all people, an atheist, which just shows the utter embarrassment that the ISUPK seemingly can't hold its own against an atheist, or at least a member of your group can't hold their own against an atheist. And so I find it telling that he calls me out and he doesn't want to come into a room when he bears the onus to try to disprove anything that I've said. Because if he thinks that I'm wrong about something, then he should have no issue coming in here and disproving it. Especially for the edification of the people who you assume are Israelites. Now, look what it says right here. He says, we are an actual organization and professional. No, you're not actually professional. You guys are a makeshift organization with very shoddy ways of handling things. This has been shown in the past in your behavior with certain people. It's been shown that you're very selective in how you go about interacting with folks. You're not necessarily professional. You pick and choose when you want to be cordial, but you're certainly not someone that I would call professional. And it says, and handles debates accordingly. Well, the reality is that he called me out to have a live discussion. I didn't call him out for a live discussion. I made a wall post. He called me out to a live discussion, and I said, let's get it popping. And your friend seemingly, or your camp member seemingly did not want to come into the discussion. And the same offer is extended to you. If you're in here right now, let me go ahead and check. I would hope that you're in here because you have jumped into other people's discussions in the past. So with that being said, as you're saying right here, and you know this personally, as you and I talked behind the scene first, yes, and you showed your lack of professionalism in our conversation, and then to try to set up the debate, you tried to switch things around. Initially, we had a topic going, which I did propose, and you seemingly agreed with in the Christian Hebrew discussion group. And then you decided to switch it around and tell me, no, I'm not going to debate that topic. And then you switched it up, and then we ended up having to debate the topic that you picked. And then you refused to want to go first into the debate, even though you've never debated on Debate Talk for You. That's the reason why our debate did not go down, was because you refused to debate. You refused to go first. And you use that as an excuse to try to make it seem like I wasn't trying to debate you. No, we all go by rules, right? We talk about rules and regulations. You claim you're a professional. Well, if you were a professional, Tazariak, I would think that you would actually go out of your way to follow the rules of the platforms that you are doing debates on And if one of the rules calls for first-time debaters to go first, then you should, by all means, go first. I'm not going to give you that leeway because, to be quite frank with you, I really don't look at you in the way that you think of yourself. I don't think that I need to go and bend over backwards for someone because you think you're somehow a big name or a big shot. When the reality is, if you're about truth and I'm about truth, then we should, by all means, do a debate according to the rules. And if the rules call for you to go first, then if you're the professional that you claim you are, you should have gone first, but you didn't go first. What you ended up doing was you flaked out of the debate. You look for an excuse. Then you tried to claim that another member of the ISUPK debated before you, and that somehow counts as you debating. Like you guys are trying to do like ISUPK modalism or something. Like your friend is somehow really you, but he isn't, or he is, which is really illogical when all you had to do is say, you know what, let's go first. And for the record, Tazariak, that debate offer still stands. We can still do it on Debate Talk for you, but you will be going first because you are a first-time debater. If you would like to debate, the offer stands for you. But since this isn't about you, this is about your friend and he tagged you in, or your camp member tagged you in, then I'm going to address him accordingly. So he says that your thirstiness for our attention made you jump for joy when he said we could do this live. No, it didn't necessarily make me jump for joy. What it did was it really made me feel like, oh, okay, so this guy really wants to defend this fraudulent dialect. Let's get it in. Let's show that the dialect isn't really accurate, that it isn't what your camp claims that it is, which is ancient Hebrew, because it's not ancient Hebrew. It's Arias concoction. There is no evidence for the dialect in antiquity. That's why whenever questions are asked about the dialect, none of you seem to be able to answer them directly or accordingly. And that's why you run from discussions like this. And he says, Afban, being the excellent officer he is, knew he wasn't talking about right now, but setting something up. But you, on the other hand, don't comprehend that because you are not in an organization. Well, see, again, this here on your end is what I like to call an ad hom attack. It's also, there's a specific fallacy that you're committing. There's a fallacy that escapes me right now, but it's basically what you're doing is you're attempting to undermine the fact that your friend was the one that said, let's go live. And the fact that you and others have gone into live streams in the past without asking permission. But because it's someone like me, apparently you guys are no cowards, but you seem to be afraid of specific individuals because you guys don't want to do debates the way that you normally would do them with other people. Because I guarantee you, had this been a G-Man or someone else that you don't have the greatest deal of respect for in terms of debating, you would have jumped in, or he would have jumped in ASAP and in a hurry. But because it was me, you hesitated, and he hesitated, which kind of is endearing to me. I got to admit, Cesariak, that's endearing to me, that you think that highly of me, that you have to go through the process of having to organize things just to have a mere discussion on Facebook, which would have been time, by the way. I mean, if I can jump into these discussions and I'm that confident that I can disprove the dialect, then members of your camp should have no problem coming into discussions, especially if you consider the fact that if you're on the street corner and somebody were to corner you on the dialect, you don't have the excuse of calling to our radio show when they're live in person in your face, right? You would try to stand your ground, probably would end up looking very unlearned in the process, I may add, but you would at least try to stand your ground. And I was hoping that the same would be true online if a person is calling you out. And since I'm calling you out, I'm hoping that the No Cowards moniker actually lived up to its billing. But unfortunately, it seems that it hasn't lived up to its billing. It really feels like a letdown that the moniker No Cowards has been shown to be demonstrably false in this case. So there'll be next times, and hopefully we will be able to have discussions in the future. Hopefully we won't have to go through this kind of tomfoolery. So you're not responding. I'm pretty much done here. For the audience out there, this is a perfect example of what we say when we say that Hebrew Israelites are not comfortable standing behind their positions. This is why they are unwilling to come into certain discussions with certain individuals. And when they're called out, they look for every excuse to try to get out of actually backing up their position. So if anyone who holds to Lashawan Kodash sees this video in the future and would like to have a discussion, I am more than willing to have a discussion with you. We can definitely set it up. I have no issue doing a live discussion on the spot because I am that confident in showing you how false your dialect is, because it's a false dialect. It just is what it is. With that being said, I hope this has edified somebody out there. To the member of the ISUPK, the offer still stands. Whenever you would like to debate, we can get it in. But I'm going to let it be known right now. Any discussion that we have is going to take place either in a room like this, where there's going to be a moderator and there's going to be rules set in place. It's not going to take place on the ISUPK radio show because you guys are not an unbiased forum. It is very clear that you guys are trying to protect your agenda on there. We need to do it on a neutral platform. And if we do it on a neutral platform, it will most certainly be timed and rules will be put in place to ensure that both sides get the chance to speak, because the gentleman in question was going to be given his time to speak. We were going to agree upon a time limit for both sides before we actually did our discussion. But since now all of a sudden the ISUPK has to do their convenient protocol when it's somebody that they can't readily debunk or oppose, then it's funny, convenient, but funny at the same time. When in other occasions the ISUPK readily goes into live discussions without asking permission in many cases, not all the time, but certainly there have been occasions where Tazariak and others have done this. I guess they like to pick and choose their battles. I don't blame them, because if I knew the kind of person that, if I were in their shoes, if I was in utter heresy, if I was in utter falsehood, tomfoolery, promoting pseudo scholarship, and I knew I had to defend my beliefs against somebody sharp, I would probably be hesitant and looking for excuses as well. With that being said, God bless you all. I hope this has edified someone out there. Until next time, take care.